Let's get started. Okay, good morning. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director at 10-Minute Trades. Please remember that all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so please trade carefully. And let's get started. Okay, so if you are paying attention to the daily reports, you'll notice there's a different setup, but it is a setup that we have tested, and we tested it and traded it live last month along with gold, which really hasn't been working well. And anytime you get a setup that's really problematic, we try so hard to find alternative setups. I mean, we always do, and that's what we did. We came up with a different setup for the PPI using the NQ. So we'll see how it works today. Last month it worked nicely. What's interesting is even gold worked a little bit last month, but as you go back and look at previous reports and previous videos, gold has been challenged for quite a while on this report. It's been struggling with poor liquidity, orders not being filled well. So we really needed a change. If you watch what happened last month, gold is on the left, the NQ is on the right. Give me 1 second. So watch gold. It's going to have a very low volume whip. I'll take it back a little bit. It's a little bit better than my memory was. A little bit better, but very fast reversal. Didn't really fully hit our targets, and we were only able to grab 4 ticks, $40. But the NQ range trade worked very nicely, and we were trading that live as well on the right. So if you look at the right side, let's look at gold once more. So look at the left. Gold has a fair amount of slippage because it was a pretty big candle and it filled more than halfway down the candle. So a lot of the profit was lost to slippage on gold. And if you weren't fast and quick and ready to get out, it could have been a problem. Whereas the NQ, the range trade worked. The idea behind the range trade is you wait for the first move to finish. We're waiting for the initial volatility to take place, and then we're entering. So watch the original move takes place. And ironically, some weeks the regular move is going to be fine. These are the kind of reports that they don't do the same thing every single time. Last month, PPI would have worked with an NQ breakout trade. But very often, the breakouts on this report have been challenged, okay? There's been whipsaws, there's been reasons why we wanted to find what we hope is a better setup. Let me show you January, 2 months prior. And we weren't looking at the NQ 2 months ago. We were pretty much committed to gold. But we were testing other setups with gold because, as I said, we haven't been happy. We hadn't been happy with the way gold had been trading on this report. And it filled and then immediately reversed and stopped us out in January. And then in December, okay, here's December coming up. I go way back in some of the videos inside of videos. Okay, in December, I was actually watching the ES, trading gold. And gold, it filled and then changed direction. Let's see, I don't remember exactly what happened that month. ES had an interesting move in December. And gold did almost the same thing it did in January and December. It filled, never followed through, and then changed direction. And the ES looked interesting in December. So we're going to try this new setup. It worked last month. Testing looks good on it. And I'll explain how to put it in because it's a little bit different than the way you enter a breakout trade. There's different rules of entry, different method of putting in. I mean, you do it the same way, but it's using different fields in the software. So let's look at the DMM. So it's a range trade, okay? Give me 1 second. Just want to look at something. Bear with me. So I'll show you how to put it in 1 second. I'm just looking for something. I apologize. So I'm going to stay in the room for the oil open. I don't trade the gold open when there's news at 8:30. Okay, so what I might do is just use a bigger stop today because the markets are so volatile. They're not horrifying today, volatility-wise, but our experience with the NQ is stops. Big stops are good. So how do you enter a range trade into the software? Now, a lot of you are regulars, so you do it with the PPI, with the API, the Tuesday oil report. So we have a variety of different types of range trades. The one-click range trade, regular range trade with zones. So this is just a regular range trade. Okay, so the first thing you can do is you could go down to trade type, and you could change the type from breakout to range trade. That's easy enough. And then go back to the top, scroll up to the top. So with a range trade, you have a range start time, right? You don't have a bracket because we're creating a range with time. We're going to enter ticks above the range, ticks below the range. So that's, you see it says entry range trade. So we have ticks above, ticks below. They're both 6. Graphic shown on chart gets checked. Okay. That'll show you the range. Everything will work normally, even if that's not checked. But if you check it, for any range trade, graphic shown on chart should be checked. The range color, all that the range box color means is the color the range is going to be. So if you have dark charts, you don't want it to be dark. If you have light charts, you want the colors to be light so you can see the range. Okay. And then the range line thickness, all that means is how thick are the lines that the range that the software is drawing to show the range. So you don't have to change color normally. You don't have to change the thickness, and you don't have to change the look back because we're not using numbers of bars to create a range. That's what the look back does. We're using time. So we have a range start time and it says 30. So it's 8:30 Eastern time. 8:30. And then activation entry time, scroll down. Activation entry time, 8:30:04. So it's actually the 4 seconds that's creating our range. And then make sure you're set on range trade. Okay, that's what sets our trade. Then we have to choose targets. So we have targets of 20 and 60. And I'm going to use a stop of 40. So target is 20, target is 60. Now, if you hit your first target, you certainly could move your stop to break even if you wanted to. You can automate the stop movement with this command here, target 1 stop move. If target 1 is hit and you wanted to move your stop to break even automatically, you would just type BE in there. You could do BE minus 4 ticks. You could do BE plus 8 ticks. You can do it any way you want. Okay. So I'm going to move my stop to break even. The only reason sometimes you don't want to move the stop is if it jerks around, if it goes up and down a little bit, it might stop you out, but then continue moving the same way. So, I mean, the last time we traded this, I didn't automate anything. So I'll just try to be very prepared and do it manually. So once again, ticks above the range is 6, ticks below the range is 6. Graphic shown on chart gets checked. The range start time is 8:30. The activation entry time is 8:30:04. The trade type is a range trade. And then I'm trading it real. I label the trade. You know what? I'm going to put range first. And that's my setup. And then I want my charts on real also. Okay? So that's how you enter in a range trade into the software. Let's also check. I'm also looking, we've been trading gold on this report forever. Forever. We've been trading gold. So I'm tempted in just setting up a test trade, just to let it run, a simulated trade to see what would happen to gold using, a reasonable breakout setup. Although the truth is, it hasn't been working well on this report. Even if it worked today and our range trade didn't work, I wouldn't be that interested in going back to gold as a breakout. Not yet. Not unless it starts showing that it's going to work again on a regular basis. And it really has been difficult to trade it on a regular basis. It's been really hard to trade gold. So I think I'll just watch it. I'm just going to watch it because it's not really going to change my mind dramatically. Now the gold market opens at 820. Gold's quite down today. It's down over $30. It's definitely challenging to trade markets with this kind of volatility. You have to rethink so many of your setups, bigger brackets, bigger stops, sometimes even different entry times. It's extremely, extremely challenging. So it looks like the gold open worked to the downside. Would have worked to the downside today a little bit. The NQ's been pushing up since 5 minutes to 8. Let's check our time sync also. NQ certainly looks like it wants to test that high, doesn't it? So it was looked like a pretty easy gold open this morning. Always, anytime you don't trade something, it's perfect. Isn't it always that way? Okay, Chantal was watching though. There were no signals, so we wouldn't have taken it. So that's good to know. I'm not watching the signals this morning. My plan is I don't trade gold when there's major news at 8:30. Let's check our time sync. Okay, let's check our time sync. Now gold looks like it wants to test the low also this morning. And NQ is going to test that high. Sure feels like it. How do we test our time sync? Yeah, it's very late this morning with signals. But I maintain you could take gold open signals, at least I think it can take until 8:40. And today you have an interesting setup. You have a market that's being pulled into the low. So let's check our time sync by going to the website time.is, and that puts us in sync. So good gold signal eventually. Took a while. And I'm recording this. Everybody clear on how to enter the software into the range trade? Is everybody clear? And you can see why an open is challenging, because it kicked back against you quite a lot of ticks. That was more than $1. It went back against you after you might have gone short. So maybe you would have hit your first target and then get stopped on that kickback. Now, normally, the Empire State doesn't come out on time. It's usually either early or late. The PPI is much more important news because it's price news, producer price index. So I suppose when we're here, in the future, I could certainly trade the open. We would have had time today to do the gold open. So I'll have to think about whether I want to do it when there's major news. Today makes me think maybe you can consider still doing it even when there's major news. And I do consider PPI major news because of the nature of the news that it is, price oriented news. So I want to thank everybody that's watching us on YouTube. If you'd be kind enough, why don't you hit the like button and sign up for the channel, and then if you click the notification bell, you'll know the next time we're going to be here streaming. We stream at least 3 times a week. And trading is delayed on YouTube also. You can come into the trade room if you want to join the trade room. Well, I'll get into that after the trade, but all you have to type in is jointhetraderoom.com, www.jointhetraderoom.com. It's very reasonable to spend a month with us on YouTube. At least hit a couple of like buttons, because we give you this for free. It's worth a like, right? Chantal, what were your targets on gold? What were your targets? 7, 12, and 25. Okay. All right, we got about a minute and a half to go, and then we're going to stick around. And we'll get ready for the oil open. And I looked this morning, oil's down quite a bit over the past week. But it's no surprise. You wake up in the morning and it's a different world every day. All right, we got about 30 seconds. $15 to go. So it should, it should be a big range that gets created from the initial move. Not that big, not very big. Oof, it's going to go against us. All right, so it didn't work. Very, very choppy. Gold was a whipsaw. Gold was a whipsaw. Gold was a whipsaw. And the NQ is going to test that high, and it tested it. So I'm just thinking that our range is too short. I think our range is too short. So let's look at the video in a second. I just want to let the market, gold tested that low. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So I'm just watching the markets for a second. And I want to look at the video. The very fast. Let me look at the video. I'll point something out. Two seconds, I just have to render it. Okay, here's the video. Let's see what happened. So the news comes out, the NQ moves, and then unfortunately, it jerks to the downside enough to fill us. It jerks to the downside enough to fill us. So that's what happened. Gold went two directions. It went up and then down. So I don't know that gold would have been better. The NQ, it wanted to go up and test the high, but the move that it had was not a typical I'm going to take the reversal, and then it happened so fast. But there certainly was time. If you were quick on your feet, there certainly could have been time to take that reversal if you watched this video. And gold on the news went up. I think it would have stopped you out on the way down. So really the only trade was an NQ after the news reversal, but it was tricky because the NQ didn't have a big down move to reverse off of. That made it definitely tricky. But the market likes that news. The news is somewhat negative, I guess. The PPI is lower than expected. So the market likes that news. I don't know if there was any way to save that other than maybe in these volatile markets our plus and minus values on the range trade have to be a lot bigger, and maybe they can be a lot bigger. We're going to have to analyze it and see. And not every single trade is going to work. PPI worked last week using the same type of a setup. So we'll see. We shall see. So we're going to stay here and stay for the oil open. And I'm just testing the oil open with the tick strike indicator. That's what I'm doing currently. Testing the oil open with the tick strike indicator. And I think I'll leave gold on for a little bit. So gold had an interesting open. It would have been, in my opinion, looked like a stop out on the news if you would have done a breakout, because it went up first. It would have probably filled, yeah, it would have filled you long first. And then it went down back to that low. Okay, so let's look at oil. So oil's down. It's incredible. I mean, the oil was up over the hundreds. It was up over the hundreds. And now it's below 97. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And I do want to thank everybody on YouTube for watching us today. Thank you very much for watching. We're going to end our stream now, and I'll see everybody on YouTube. We'll be streaming tomorrow. So, no, actually, we won't be streaming tomorrow. We'll be streaming Thursday is our next streaming day. So we'll see you on YouTube next week. Thank you for watching. And thanks for the